Have you ever seen a Draw This in Your Style challenge artwork and been so excited to try it, only to feel really overwhelmed and super paralyzed once you start? It can be really difficult to make the artwork reflect your style, especially when you don't feel like you have a style. But no worries, I've been there. I've panicked that, and I've got a grab bag of solutions to help you make your next Draw This in Your Style challenge an enjoyable and insightful process. Because in today's video, I'm sharing my personal Draw This in Your Style challenge process. Everything from identifying inspiration, researching style influences, and practical advice on how to infuse your artwork to make it feel like you. And of course, leave room for those happy accidents. I've also sprinkled in some of my favorite Procreate tips and tricks along the way. Okay, let's get into it. If you've never heard of a DTIYS challenge or Draw This in Your Style, basically it's like a popular art prompt where an artist shares an original piece and invites other artists to recreate it in their own style. It's like a really fun way to practice, and you kind of get to explore different creative choices. And then you kind of feel like connected to the art community. But I feel like my favorite reason that I do them is because it's such a good way to uncover your own art style. When choosing a Draw This in Your Style challenge artwork that you want to participate in, you really want to make sure that the art grabs you. Like if it excites you and it just has you chomping at the bit to give it a try, then that's the one that you want to do. I definitely wouldn't participate in every single Draw This in Your Style challenge that you see. One, because honestly, there's so many of them. And two, I feel like the artist whose Draw This in Your Style artwork you choose is actually your first clue into your own style. When I saw Sophie McPike's Draw This in Your Style artwork, I literally gasped. I thought it was so beautiful, and I love how she played with blend modes and her own hand-painted textures, and it just has this doodle-like carefree line work. I also was into how Sophie makes all of her art feel so bubbly and happy. It's been about 2 weeks since I've made any digital art at all, and I've been very much craving to sketch in Procreate. And this piece, I was like, this is my catalyst, this is my chance. So this piece is made up of a bunch of lines and really heavily dependent on line work, which made me super excited to use Procreate's color fill tool. So if I were to write everything I just told you down and highlight the things that made me excited or aspects of Sophie's artwork that I was attracted to, then I would pretty much have a style script of elements that I should aim to incorporate into my own piece. So Sophie has this really beautiful woman in her piece, and she said the woman is dancing in puddles. I'm not really in the mood to draw a person right now, but I love the way that she depicted her bird. It feels very 70s inspired, which made me really excited about that aspect of doing this Draw This in Your Style challenge artwork. So instead of forcing myself to draw a person when I'm not in the mood, I decided to just focus on the parts that I'm really excited about, the bird and the whole retro 70s vibe. I was also listening to this playlist that I made that's all about flying and feeling like you're a bird, and it has that song that's girl, put your records on, play with it, whatever. But the first one of the first lines is 3 little birds came to my window and they told me that I don't need to worry. And I thought, oh, that is such a sweet lyric and a really cute sentiment. So instead of drawing a woman and a bird, I'm gonna draw 3 little birds in my piece. And I feel like this is a big part of Draw This in Your Style. Incorporating your own style and own story into it is a really a really useful and important part because you don't have to follow every detail of the original piece. In fact, I feel like the magic of a draw this in your style is your take on it, like your story. So while Sophie's piece included a woman dancing in puddles, I was more excited about like the 70s aspect of it. So I'm really gonna lean into that, and I decided to pop over to Pinterest to do a little bit of style research and style study. I just typed in some keywords and perused the Pinterest to get some ideas like of things that maybe I wanted to incorporate into my piece. I mainly walked away with mostly color inspiration that I'm going to use to help me create a color palette. And I'll just really quickly run through this. I basically just import all of the images into Procreate, and then I use the color picker and I kind of fiddle with colors to like make them my own. Like a lot of these colors felt really bright and I was in the mood for more muted tones. So that's kind of what I'm doing right here. But yeah, incorporating your style is kind of like picking and choosing what parts of their piece will inspire your artwork and what parts you want to bring to the table from your own story or your own tastes. With every art piece that I do, I always take a minute to set an intention before I begin my practice. This just kind of like gives me a goal or something to focus on or aspire to every single time I sit down to make art. So if you're looking for a little more direction in your art practice, definitely give setting an intention and a try, because you might be surprised how it shifts your process. With this piece, I had 2 intentions. I knew that I wanted to incorporate the idea of flow. Like, I feel like this is something Sophie does so well in her work. It just feels like so naturally and organic and flowy and beautiful. And I also wanted to work on my sense of depth and perspective. So with flow, like taking a look at Sophie's piece, these puddles or lines that she created really give her artwork a beautiful sense of movement, kind of like water. However, since I am drawing birds, I want them to be in the sky, so doodling like puddles or abstract puddles doesn't really make sense for my concept. So when you're not sure how to make something feel like you, what I do is I take a look at my past artwork, and I look for kind of patterns, like what elements do you yourself keep coming back to in your artwork? And something that I always incorporate, like not in every single piece, but the majority of my artwork, and it's kind of something I think that I've become known for, is incorporating rainbows into everything. Like if I can shove a rainbow in there, I will. So instead of puddles, I'm gonna do rainbows. Yeah, and I think like when approaching your own draw this in your style artwork, maybe just take a glance into your Procreate gallery, or if you're an analog artist, like flip through your sketchbook and see if you can notice any themes that you want to incorporate into this piece. This will not only help you tie all of your artwork together, which over time gives you that like quote unquote signature style that we're all looking for, but 9 times out of 10, if you're doing something over and over again, it's because you love it or you enjoy the process of doing it. And I think we just all need more of that in our lives. We need more of that energy. So 2 little drawing tips that I have when it comes to doing inky line work. Okay, one is to draw with your shoulder, not with your wrist. When I was in art school, I was friends with this tattoo artist, and he would always see me drawing and say like, Sam, like move your shoulder, move your entire shoulder. And once I started doing that, drawing, it got so much easier for me. Like it just flowed better. My lines got smoother, and I just felt so much more confident when doing line work. And frankly, I'm surprised that not more people are talking about this. But I guess like I know it's not like a sexy Procreate effect or tip or whatever, but I do feel like it is a hack. I would definitely call it a drawing fundamental that more people should know about. So share it with your friends, guys. Share it with everyone. Draw with your shoulder. Let's make everyone's life a little bit more easier. And the second drawing tip when you're doing line work, like I have with these rainbows and birds and everything here, is it's sometimes hard to pick up and draw a line and then like skip over and begin the line again to where it ends. And I feel like it's always easier to draw through something. And drawing through just means drawing all the way through the line and then just erasing away the parts that you don't need instead of trying to draw fragments of a line, because they're never going to align exactly how they should. Like, our brains are great, but they're not perfect at drawing aligned lines, if that makes sense. So if you're working digitally like I am, you can just make a new layer and then draw through and then erase away the parts you don't need, and it won't affect like any of your other line work that you have on separate layers, which is something awesome that I love about working digitally. So one of the things that I said I was so excited to do with this piece was to use Procreate's color fill tool. And this is not something I get to use often because my style pretty much has zero line work in it. But every now and then I just get so excited to use this tool because it's just so much fun to use. So if you have Procreate and you haven't used it, get your iPad right now and give it a go because it is a delight. It's very satisfying. So if you've never heard of color fill, you can use it by turning on your reference layer, which you don't need a reference layer, you just need a shape to fill in that's completely closed. But in my case, that is my line work. And another thing that I wish more people talked about and used more is the continue color fill option, because this can be such a great time saver. All you have to do is hit the little continue color fill up at the top here and then just tap around and it'll continue to fill in that color. And you can even change the color while you're filling and just keep filling. It's pretty fun. When I don't know what color I want a piece to be, I usually just work in grayscale so I can kind of get an idea of the values that I need it to be. For this piece, I know that I'm going to do lighter values for my subjects, mainly because I know that I want the clouds to be white, and that is the lightest value you could possibly get. So I want to make the background really dark. Since Sophie was using her own hand-painted textures, it reminded me that I have not used my hand-painted textures in a really long time. So I was really excited to incorporate that in some way. So I just basically, how to do that is you create a clipping mask and clip my texture down to my shapes. The other intention that I had set for myself was to give a sense of depth and perspective. And when I first started out in art, honestly, even not that long ago, I drew very flat and simple because I really didn't like it when things touched. It felt like it was getting too complicated for me, and I would always get just so overwhelmed. But since I've grown as an artist and I've been pushing myself to be more comfortable with complexity in my art, which I feel like sometimes you need to create a sense of depth, things need to overlap to feel that depth. So with these birds, I am going to challenge myself to let them overlap and let the wings and the tails and the clouds and the rainbows, everything kind of just needs to be woven together and not separate. And I think that's a really key part of a draw this in your style, because obviously they call it a challenge. So it's important that we find some way to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone and try something new or something that we've always wanted to attempt to do. Also, as we were talking about like happy accidents and leaving space for that, as I was importing all of my textures to clip down to my shapes, the line work, I had set it to multiply, so it was interacting with the textures that I was importing. And I was like, man, that looks really cool. Like, maybe I should give that a try. So here I am kind of just playing with that, clipping down and playing with blend modes, and it was like such a happy accident, but it turned out so cool. Like, it made my line work have different colors all over it, which I really, really liked. And yeah, I love that little like unexpected bit that you get when you do a piece that's not something you would normally do. When I finished this piece, it kind of looked nothing like Sophie's, and honestly, that made me pause for a second, because I was like, does this even count as a draw this in your style? Like, did I deviate too far for anyone to even be like if I posted it with all the hashtag and it got like grouped with everyone else's, would they be like, why is this art here? Like, this doesn't look like anything related to this. But I feel like upon close inspection, I feel like it's obvious to me, because I know that I took so much inspiration from Sophie's beautiful piece. And the essence is there for me, the style cues, like the flow. And I feel like that's what is at the heart of a Draw This in Your Style challenge. You don't have to copy something to be influenced by it. You kind of just have to show up with excitement and curiosity, and I think just let creativity lead the way, and whatever happens, happens. I hope this helped you feel more confident tackling your next Draw This in Your Style challenge. And whether you're trying to develop your own style or break out of a creative rut or just have fun making art, like, I hope you feel like you have got this. Let me know in the comments what part of the process really like vibed with you, or that you're most excited about, or if you picked up on any tips along the way. I would love to hear from you. So thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!